Yo, it's me, Brooke Sellis, back with another interview for the Social Media CX podcast. And you are going to want to listen to this one because here's kind of an overview snippet teaser for the show. Social media isn't just a place for scrolling anymore, it's a customer experience hub, a search engine, and a reflection of your brand's promises. Today, we're diving into why brands need to stop making gestures and start taking CX seriously. I will be interviewing the director of digital at Organic Valley, Joshua St. Aubin. He is someone who has cracked the code on aligning social and digital CX with consumer expectations. You definitely don't want to miss this one. Welcome to the Social Media CX podcast, where social media meets customer experience and where all fires, no rainbows is the current reality for most brands. I'm Brooke Sellis, CEO of B Squared Media, and I'm on a mission to change that. Social media can be the MVP of your CX strategy, and I'm here to show you how. Each week, we'll tackle the challenges of social care head-on with candid interviews, real-world case studies, and actionable advice to turn your social channels into loyalty-building, revenue-driving dopamine machines. Whether you're managing customer complaints, trying to engage meaningfully, or just tired of missing DMs, this podcast is your guide to putting out the fires and building the rainbows. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Social Media CX podcast. I am super excited to be joined by my friend Josh St. Aubin, who I've known for like over 10 years. We were trying to figure this out the other day. It's over 10 years.
It's got to be somewhere around there. That sounds pretty close.
So we've been friends for a long time digitally. We're those digital friends who met through social. It's the classic social tell. We've never met in person, but I feel like we really know each other just because we've known each other for so long.
It's true, and it's like one of those things. It's like you see. I can guarantee the first time we meet in real life, it's that tangent of hey, I feel like we've known each other forever. Like there's no hiccup or there's no no
No
weirdness
different.
there. It's exciting.
The beauties of social instead of the terror of social. Let's talk about beauties of social. On that note, we are going to be talking today about how brands can rethink their social and digital strategies to create seamless customer first experiences. So first things first, Josh, I want you to introduce yourself and I want you to tell everybody what you do and who you work for, and that'll open up how we're going to dive into today's conversation.
Awesome. Yeah. So I work for Organic Valley as the director of digital, and what makes us somewhat different, although I think a lot of teams work this way, is our social team is actually underneath our communications department, and then our digital team managing websites and those types of things, analytics, and it allows us to really have a connected relationship with those two departments as we look at the handoff between the ads or the content on social, and then how that functions into digital for a much more connected experience. Organic Valley is an incredible company that I personally believe that you fall more in love with the more you're there. We're a co-op of over 1,600 family farms. So it's mostly mom and dad, extended family that own these farms. And it's just incredible to see their relationship with animals and the care that they have for sustainability and the earth and nutrition and just their values. It's just an amazing company, and I can't say enough great things about them.
Well, I'm in your corner because we are an Organic Valley household. We drink y'all's half and half, and I don't know what y'all do, but it's like the most delicious, creamy half and half ever. And the other thing I want to say is I actually really love the fact that your social media team is under communications. Because isn't that what social media is?
I agree. I mean, I know a lot of places that sometimes it's under media as a buying platform, of an ad placement platform, or digital, where it's really more around the ad placement. We talked before about this, where we really believe that social media is really about the connection and the engagement. And that's really, why I think it's important to come from our communications department, because it's really how we're communicating as a company versus placing a bunch of ads to sell more stuff.
Yeah, yes. Oh my gosh, I wish every marketer had your philosophy. Speaking of, you said something in our pre-call that I literally wrote down. So I'm going to read you your words and I want you to kind of add to it if you will. You said, this is so good. You said social media is closer to the consumer than brands realize. Tell me what you meant by that. I know, but tell everyone who's listening or watching what you meant by that.
Yeah, I think when we look at traditional media, for the most part, it's TV, it's radio, it's things that we can see that are more on the disruptive side. They kind of they happen in the background of as we're watching shows or different things that we're trying to connect with in the moment, right? Whereas social, the consumer is right there in front of you. They're just a couple keyboard strokes away from a response or really that connectedness. I always look at social as the extension of real life, right? Or again, creating that customer service extension. But again, I think that's what people expect. I feel like that's the purpose of why we're on social anyways, to connect, interact with our friends and our family. And oh, by the way, brands are there too. And I think that's the big thing is brands need to remember why consumers are on those platforms and adjust that messaging to meet the consumer where they are versus trying to continue that disruptive technology those disruptive means that they see on other channels.
Yes. Period. No, I think that's so great because the way most brands are marketing through digital channels like social are disruptions. They're not, like you said, social's all about engagement. It's all about the conversation, not about disrupting people in their day to day. And I think we talked about ads a lot in the pre call. And I know that you do a lot of work around UX, user experience, and advertising with Organic Valley. And I think a lot of brands don't make that connection or that distinction because a lot of ads are disruptive and we scroll right by them. And so I hear a lot of times brands saying ads don't work anymore. Well, that's not true.
When we look at some of these marketing budgets, obviously some are bigger than others. But at the end of the day, we're spending, whether it's staff, resources, or even just putting all that money into paid media, we're spending this amount of money on these platforms to create impressions and get more eyeballs and things like that. But then we forget what happens after they see it. Do we want them to click? We want them to engage. That's the purpose of the ad. And if they comment, then even better, right? But we're essentially eliciting some kind of reaction out of them that makes them want to click and learn more. We wound up, I want to say coining a phrase. I don't know if that's accurate, but we definitely use this phrase quite a bit. But myself, a couple, I'll kind of toss out a couple names here, so they don't think I'm trying to steal their concept totally. But I worked with a couple great guys, Shane Weber and Harley Jevons, and we came up with this phrase of sending traffic to the least worst page on your website.
Awesome.
And I think most marketers would realize that if we got an ad, we need to get a message across. We're selling something, we're trying to get more information, whatever that is, but we don't have a really good place on the website to be able to send them. And so we send them to something that kind of speaks to that. Maybe there's a couple sentences or half a paragraph that's buried two-thirds of the way down, and we want the consumer to have to scroll down there, right? But that's the best we've got. And I think that's a really big misconception as we look at customer experience to say, hey, if we've got a CTA and we're trying to direct people to something, that needs to be the person they see. It needs to be at the top of the page so that way they get that direct connection. And then everything else can fall under that and complement it. But everything should be really focused on whatever that user clicked on. And again, it's taking that brand hat off and putting consumer hat on if in my shoes, if I'm seeing that and I click on an ad and then I get something totally unrelated, first thing I'm gonna do is click, I'm out, right? And then you've got these bounces. And really what we're trying to do is create that engagement and that connection back to that. We've got the short form to get the eyeballs, and then we've got the long form to hold them there and to create that relationship.
I think this is such an important point because in the advertising world, many times I see clients, we do social media advertising as well. I see clients say, "Oh, we'll just send them to the homepage for this thing." And I'm like, "No." First of all, no. Second of all, why? Like the homepage is your homepage. It's not the specific story. And what I hear you saying is the ad, the story has to be good enough on the ad for the person to click on in the first place. But then you don't want to have them actually make that click. and leave this channel that they're on and then go to another channel and not have a seamless experience. Meaning, if I'm reading this story on social from your ad and then I click over to the website, that story should continue, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, again, think about it. You're to your point, you're disrupting that person's moment, connecting with friends and family. To click on a brand, we're trying to, if we elicited enough of a response where they were like, wow, I'm going to interrupt my experience, kind of checking in on people that I care about for a brand, then we need to make sure that we're responding with something that's equally strong. We really want to get people into that relationship with us. And I think that's one of the things that we continue to miss is that our old brains, as far as advertisers, we just want people to see it, right? We can forget that there's
Eyeball.
more to it.
Mhm.
And again, and putting on our consumer hats, if I felt, wow, I really want to know more, then give me more. But if I get there and I don't get the more, then it feels like that false promise, or like you said, I've clicked, now I've left the platform, and for what? And it's consumers. I think what's funny is marketing consumers, right? We've all been there where we would probably point out more bad examples where we see another brand do it and we're like, ooh, this seems really cool. I want to know more. And you get there, and like you said, it's the homepage, or now the work is on me. And it's, I don't
Yes.
want to do more work. I just wanted to
Yes.
see the story. Just take me there. And that's, again, that's where I think we really struggle from wearing our marketing hats to wearing our consumer hats. And I think really easy to remember because it feels broken, right? And maybe it's not. Again, it comes back down to the feeling, right? Like how I
Yeah.
feel is sometimes more important than the actualness of it, right? As a baby as marketers, we're like the content's there, they can get to it, but as a consumer, I feel like I don't matter because now I've got to do the work.
That is such a great point to underscore. When you are not matching the experience from channel to channel, and this show's all about social media CX or digital CX. So, a lot of times, maybe something starts on this channel, social, and then goes to a different channel.
Yeah.
That experience has to match. If it doesn't match and you're putting the work on your customer, just like you said, that, like, I'm trying to think of an analogy. Okay, let's say you go into Ann Taylor. I'm choosing a clothing store and I'm choosing Ann Taylor because literally that's where all my clothes come from. But let's say I walk into Ann Taylor and I'm like, hey, do you have this sweater still? I want to buy one for my mom and my sister. And they're like, oh, I don't know. Go look over there. You would be like, I'm sorry, what did you just say to me? Like, I'm leaving. Never mind. They don't need this sweater that much. But that's literally what a lot of these people are doing on social, especially through advertising, when they're not carrying that story over to the website or email or whatever platform they're switching to. The experience doesn't stay the same 9 times out of 10, I would say.
That's exactly what we're talking about here. And I think what makes it even worse is to think about spending $1 million to drive that many people to that store to look for that sweater, to only be told to go look over there. Or I came here for this sweater and they're like, I don't know, but how about these jeans? And you're like, but I didn't come for jeans, right? This is essentially like but to think about like that again, we're asking people to come through that door with us, and we're spending this amount of money as marketers, but should we be spending that kind of money on that if we can't support it?
Yes. This is an alignment that we're talking about, and it sounds simple, and we're not saying it's simple. I think we both know it's not as simple as
No.
it is. But if you can think about this alignment in everything that you do, it will make it much easier for you as a marketer using
Right.
digital channels to capture customers, loyalty, all the things that you want from your social channels. But you have to align the experience throughout the customer journey, I guess I'll say.
It feels like a very personal journey at that point, right? A very concierge experience. I showed up where you told me to come. Now I'm here, and oh, by the way, you're gonna take me by the hand and guide me, and you're gonna show me what I came for. And oh, by the way, here's some other stuff that you may want to think about. They're two
Yeah.
totally different feelings of that experience. Maybe the experience itself, you can still by going and finding yourself. Yeah, you may go and get it, and that's fine. But walking away, walking out of the store, you have two totally different memories or two totally different visceral experiences of what just happened.
Hey, it's Brooke. Have you seen our new report? It's here, the State of Social Care 2024, and it's a must read. Discover why social care is the secret sauce to your brand's CX strategy. We're talking eye popping stats, case studies that inspire, and actionable insights to transform how you engage with customers online. This isn't just another report, it's a game changer for how brands can connect authentically with their audiences. Download it now at bsquared.media/the/state/of/social/care/2024, or just run over to bsquared.media, head to resources, and see it there under our ebooks and reports. If you're ready to take your social care to the next level, read our report and let's turn conversations into unforgettable experiences together. Yeah. We also talked about the Organic Valley audience in our pre-call, and you were saying digital, social, digital, even ads should be used as a relationship building tool. So I want to start by talking about who your audience is and how you've done that work and that research around your audience, but then how do you look at everything that you do digitally to help cultivate, let's say, those audiences?
Yeah, and I think obviously most brands go through this, right? Like you have your consumer. Most of the time, they've created products specifically for that consumer, and I think sometimes we get lost on chasing the people that are outside of that, that are not aligned, or that just really don't care about what we're selling. And we've got to be
Mhm.
okay to let them be okay. Like when we look at our bell curve of the people that are automatically going to buy in versus the people that are never going to buy in, and then the people in the middle of that curve that you can work with. And for us, especially when you look at something like milk, it's really a commodity item, right? Like you can go and you can walk into the store and you can buy the store brand for $1 or two less. But there's a purpose behind why our milk is the way it is, whether it takes the organic nature of it, the value behind it, the what we're doing behind that story in order to make it worth what that is. And it's really a matter of connecting with that right consumer that's specifically looking for that, looking for a nutritional value, looking for that sustainability, the animal care, the different nuances that our brand provides them. Yeah, hey, thinking about a Tom Shoes or Warby Parker, brands like that that are somewhat one for one, but also have a mission behind why they exist. And I think that's again really leaning into what those aspects are, what your brand do, especially for the consumers that not only do you matter for them, but really drive that needle, right? Like they're the ones that just really embrace and love what your mission's about.
You're just so full of amazingness. But I love this because so many things. Segmenting. I think people might have come into this call recognizing brand recognition for Organic Valley and be like, oh, people who buy milk by Organic Valley, but it's really more nuanced than that. And you've done the work and the research to understand that inside of the milk bubble, there's your niche bubbles. So it's the mom who wants to buy organic and cares about nutrition for her kids, or the person like me. I don't have kids, but I like to buy organic and I really care about the animal welfare, right? So there's me in my little bubble. And so you have all these little bubbles, but you've niched down. And then what I've heard you say is, and then within those bubbles, within those segments, you're really trying to make that emotional connection because that's why those niche bubbles are
Yeah.
buying for you. There's an emotional connection somewhere in there, and you're trying to research that, find out what that is, and then lift it up through everything that you do with your marketing.
Yeah, and I think too, we can really overlay and say just because what's the top priority for one of our consumers may not be the top priority for another, right? And at the end of the day, too, I guess I should say the other side of that is you can have a great mission, but you also have to have a great product. If we have a great mission, but our product's not great, then we still fall flat on that promise back to the consumer. But at the same time, if we're able to have a great product and then, oh, by the way, we've got these different values that really connect with our consumers. One of the things that we've learned over as we look at our data is we have a strong relationship between our farms, our farmers, and our animals. And when we look at animal care, for instance, it's a lot of fun. We see our cows and the interaction with how all of that plays with that brand. But it's not the number one for some people. Some people,
Mhm.
it's about nutrition. Some people, it's about what's right for my family. So if we're leading with, hey, look at our great animals and all the things we do for them, that may not resonate with a certain audience, right? Like
Right.
when we look at our data from a normalized view of here's our flat message, right? When we had that at the top of the page, the engagement wasn't great. But when we segmented it out to our user groups or our persona groups based on when we created a persona group around animal care, those get super engagement. Now it's a smaller
Yeah.
audience, right? But we're getting the best content to that smaller audience that is going to need it and they're going to consume it. But and at the same time, maybe our nutrition persona still really is interested in animal care. Right? That's maybe number two or number three, so we can shift that message too and understand what is that priority level because they're not going to look at it and say, oh, nutrition, but this brand has both maybe. But how do
Right.
we then resort it so that way we can give them the right message and the right priority of the message at the right time?
Two things I heard you say just now, which were really important and I want to say out loud, are number one, dissolution is not a bad thing. I wrote about this in my book as it pertains to social, right? Everybody's building a follower base and not a customer base. But to your point, once you figured out what those audiences were, what those segments were, who your personas were, you were able to get more engagement, even though the audience is smaller. So I think dissolution, like losing people, is fine because when you lose the people that aren't for that particular segment or overall audience, your engagement's going to get better. And I think another point that you made is what I'm seeing happen with smart brands like yours in social and digital especially is that small is the new big. The really savvy brands are starting to understand that smaller audiences, smaller campaigns, less amount of channels, less amount of content. I think the savvy brands are really not only understanding that, but doing that. Like they've taken that into action.
Yeah. You even think about some huge brands like Progressive or Geico. How many different versions of their commercials do they have? It's not just one style, right? And they've done this for years where they offer up multiple versions of what their concepts are. And one's better for one audience and one's better for another audience. But again, like even working with so many different clients on the agency side, we would see clients that would really focus on those naysayers at the bottom and that are complaining about, "Well, you don't have this for me." So they're spending all of their time and energy trying to either change their mind or make products. And then they forget the people that are really interested, right? It's the 80-20 rule, right? Like we're spending 80% of our time focusing on 20% of of our audience that doesn't really care in the first place. And now we're spending the 20% of our time on the 80% of the audience that then becomes somewhat disenfranchised because you forgot about that. So it's making sure that it's okay to leave back that 20%. And if they come around, great. Like they're welcome to the club, they're welcome to the party. But at the same time, by focusing on that 80%, you've got that great fan base. You've got those people that are really highly engaged and really want to consume and know more.
How important is engagement as a metric for your team, the social team, or just digital in general? Because I won't name names, but I saw a social media expert say that engagement didn't matter on social. And I have had a visceral reaction to that. But I want to know for serious, how important is engagement with all of the digital things that Organic Valley does?
I think it depends. There's a couple definitions that we could throw around here, right? Like we could talk about, like I was saying before, about click through to the website. What does engagement look like there? What does
Sure.
engagement look like on the social platform? And again, I would say really, if you're not getting that engagement, if people aren't liking, yes, you want the conversation or in the comments and things like that. But I feel like if you're not getting engagement, then what's the point? Again, it's like you're using it as a phone platform. I'm screaming, I'm shouting, everybody listen to me. But again, it's understanding why you're there in the first place. And the whole purpose to be there is to create that community. If you just want to shout, go to TV, go to radio, do your 30-second spots, right? There's nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
But when you show up in a platform that people expect to be connected with, it doesn't always work. And at this point, we've been ingrained to ignore TV commercials. That's coming
Yeah,
from an advertiser where my wife makes fun of me because I actually watch the commercials because I
sure.
want to see what other people are doing. But for her, it's an opportunity to get up and go to another room or do something else. And I think we forget that, right? We're already ingrained with putting those ads in the back of our minds or changing the channel or whatever that is. And that's the same thing with scrolling past it, right? And just like I can change the channel on the TV or when the commercials come on, I can scroll right past that ad. So we're already used to ignoring ads. And I think that's the same thing. If we're not engaging, then what's the point of even being there in the first place?
Yeah, we're on the same page. I actually think engagement is the most important metric on social media from an organic perspective. So glad you agree with me.
And even back to we talked about the website, we've had, as we've looked at our numbers, we may have great impression numbers and click-through rates, engagement click-through rates on social. But
Sure.
when we bring them over to the website and we look at that engagement number and that engagement is minimal, then we know we've got a handoff issue too, right? That's where again, where the customer journey, customer experience comes back into play. And we've got to fix the full experience, right? Not just the social experience when we talk about engagement there, but what we were talking about earlier, we want to make sure that we continue that engagement. And if we have that drop off, then we haven't done our job either.
Yes, I love that. One of the last things I want to talk about is another thing that you said in our pre-call, which is you feel like a lot of brands are making gestures. You said that brands are stuck in the gesture phase and they need to become more serious about customer experience. So, can you unpack that a little bit for me?
I think it's exactly the example you provided, right? It's not showing up or is expecting your consumer to show up larger than you are or to put
Um,
more time in. And so many conversations you have with a brand where they're just not showing up. What are you doing for that? We've got ads. Okay, but what happens after that? Are you communicating with them? Are you providing them value? And when we think value, it's are you putting out content that they're asking for, or are you putting out content that you want to say? Is
Yes.
everything sell, sell, sell without asking for anything in return, right? How are you being complimentary to that experience? And I think
Mhm.
that's where we're looking at that value. And as a brand, you also have a major role to play in that. And what is it that you're doing in order to listen? And whether it's looking at your analytics or listening to your consumers on their platforms, but what are you actually doing to respond to that to make improvements? And I think those are things that we need to remember that it's not just a 1 year strategy. This is ongoing, right? It's
Yeah.
ongoing to learn our consumer. It's ongoing to continue to understand what is it, what are the things that really connect with them. And I think it's unfortunately for us, it changes all the time. So
Yeah.
if we're not listening and we miss that change, then we're back at square one. So as we're listening and as we're watching, we can really react a lot quicker too. I think that's where being more genuine in there and really understanding and hearing it from their point of view really changes things.
Yes, yes. A connection is a two-way street. But on social media, as brands often do, they treat it as like that one-way street, right? What are you doing for me, the brand? Are you subscribing? Are you following me? Are you liking my content or
Right.
engaging with my content? It's not what can we do for you? And there isn't a laser focus on customer experience through some of these digital and social channels. And I think, yeah, they have to start seeing connection as two-way because it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think again, it's replicating that experience back to how would you react back if you were face to face with somebody? What would that conversation be, or what would that value be that you're creating by engaging with that person? Again, if you're in a store or you're doing that customer service, it's replicating that back to that platform, so that way you're creating a little bit more of that real world in a more digital space.
Uh, yeah, I just couldn't agree more with everything that you're saying. This is why we're friends probably and why we've stayed in touch
Yeah.
for so long, but here are the key takeaways if you've been watching or listening or maybe you've just fast forwarded to the end that I think you'll get out of this episode. Aligning your channels for customer experience. So if you're running ads on social, great, fantastic. Make sure when somebody clicks over, that story continues. The segmentation of your audience is never over. Keep going, find out what those little niche bubbles are. We call them like personas, but make sure that you're telling the story for those specific niche audiences. So you may be telling 3 or 4 different stories, as we talked about with Josh. So one may be nutrition, one may be animal care, one may be organic, right? Figure out what those stories are and make sure you're telling them for those audiences. And lastly, brand gestures aren't enough. You have to commit to a true customer first or consumer first approach if you want to survive all the crazy changes that have been happening in our digital world. That's a
A
lot.
lot. That's a lot.
Should we end on a fun note?
I'm always there for a fun note. Absolutely.
Okay. If you could create An Organic Valley Facebook ad in one emoji, what would it be and why?
Wow. Right. Facebook emoji. Yeah, I think it's really the happy farmer, right? Really, they really tie everything together, whether it's our animals or our nutrition or our food and really our people. I think everybody recognizes and remembers farmers when we were kids from just that emotional feeling that kind of brings back. And I think it still lives there. Every time I hear their stories or I meet them, it just brings me back to that. I think it's just, yeah, it's just amazing. I would definitely say that.
I love the little farmer emoji, by the way. It's got the little hat and the little carrot that's coming out.
Yes.
Anyways, I think that's the perfect emoji. This is why you're so good at what you do. Tell everybody where they can find you. Where do you hang out online or
Yeah,
digitally?
I think these days I spend most of my time on LinkedIn. Yeah. Find me over there, hit me up, send me comments, send me questions. I'll get back to you. I love engaging over there.
Awesome. And make sure you follow Organic Valley on the socials as well so you can see all of the amazing things that Josh and the social team and the comms team and everybody really within the company are doing on digital channels. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast if you want to get more in depth conversations like this one with digital and CX leaders. Josh, thank you so much. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Social Media CX podcast. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to up their social care game.